Welcome to the Mathematics Professional Development Series, sponsored by the Making Math Matter grant, in cooperation with the Blue Springs School District, Hickman Mill School District, Center School District, and Wellington Napoleon School District. With me today is Matt Harper from Chapel Lakes Elementary in Blue Springs, Missouri.
Hello.
Welcome, Matt. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, thank you.
You know, when I was in your classroom, it was outstanding. It was amazing to me to see what was done, how it was being done, and I really want to get into your brain on how and why you set up the class the way that you did. Let's talk a little bit about the classroom setup. I didn't see a lot of direct instruction in your classroom. I saw kids working on things. Can you talk to me about this?
Absolutely. Basically what happens is we do math classroom in reverse. I let the kids go about discovering their own learning for probably about a week and a half. And only at that time, after the rules have been set in their own little math partnerships, do we then put it onto a chart paper, put it on the wall, and use that as our map from then on.
Okay, I'm gonna rewind a little bit. Math partnerships, can you explain that to me?
Absolutely. At the beginning of the year, I tell the kids that we are going to do things quite differently from what they've done before. I tell them that they are literally going to discover their own learning, and I point out the math corner with all the manipulatives that Blue Springs has, and the math grant has given to the classroom, and I say it's up to you and the people you work with to choose the right one, choose the most efficient one, we use that word quite frequently, to get to their learning. And basically what that then does, it creates a relationship, a trust in that partnership that they can share thinking. The other person can then react with their own thinking. And only at that point do they boil it all down into something that they then believe will be what gives them the correct answer. And I choose to use those almost the entire year. I think that trust is very difficult to come by. And I know there's quite a few people that say you need to change it up because then you just hear the same thinking. I believe that the trust is really the more important thing, that they are able to develop those patterns in their head, at which point they can share without fear and come up with the understanding of the math.
Now, I know you've been in education for almost 20 years now, actually a little over 20 years. So did you start like this 20 years ago, or have you been building up to this? How has math changed from where you started to where you are now?
Up until I was a part of this grant, I was literally standing up in front of the class, showing them the algorithm or some other cheat to the algorithm that they would then practice to use to try to come up with the correct answer. It was only after listening to the myriad speakers that we had through the grant that I said, I'm doing this thing wrong. They're trying to parrot my understanding. They're not trying to create theirs. And it was only if they, in my opinion, they create their own understanding that they are then able to use those patterns, use those connections in their own brain to approach any new math that comes their way, not rely upon me to show them some cheat or some algorithm that they then parrot.
Okay, well, to get this new way that you're trying to push the kids, which is really amazing to watch, what type of tools or manipulatives do you use?
I mentioned the math corner a little bit ago, and it's literally a corner of the room where all of them are set out. And I let the partnerships decide what manipulatives to use. Sometimes it's the wrong one. And at that point, I push in, and just through questioning, I say, is this the most efficient thing to use? What's your thinking behind using this particular manipulative? And through that questioning, sometimes I decide, well, this isn't the best one to use. Let's go back and choose a different one. And there's successes to be had through the mistakes that are made.
Okay. Let's kind of go back to the first question I asked, because we really talked about your math partnerships and how you executed the class, in my opinion, to perfection. It was amazing to watch that. What was your main focus of the lesson that we watched?
It was multiplying a fraction by a whole number. And quite literally, it was the first day that they had it in front of them.
Okay. Well, even though it was the first day, what type of pre-teaching had you done before this?
The standards often say build upon previous knowledge, get, obtained through all of our fraction work from before the holidays up till now. And so they just use their understanding of the fractions, the proportional sizes of those fractions to develop their tools on paper
Okay.
to create their understanding.
Well, so this is the lesson that we saw day one, and we have now kind of an idea of what the pre-knowledge was. Where do they go the next day, and then where are they next week?
I had one young lady say that she was recognizing the fact that we don't use the manipulatives much anymore. And she went on to say, we have an understanding of what fractions are through all that stuff that we had done. We're working efficiently now. And so from here on, they will use that proportionality, the fractions, the sizes of fractions and things like that to condense down into a tool that makes sense to them that we will then push out to the whole class and then practice from there.
You know, again, I'm going to kind of jump back and forth here. On your math partnerships, there had to be a lot of routines and a lot of practice to be able to get the class maintained the way you did it. It was just, like I said, everybody was on task, everybody was following their rules. Tell me what type of procedures you have in place to make that such a success.
Well, quite interestingly, anybody that deals with the PLCs or anything on a faculty level, norms are always spoken before a meeting ever starts. I literally do that with these 9 and 10-year-olds. We speak the norms. We speak what it is, the actions they are supposed to undertake in their math partnerships, the respect shown to one another, the questioning. You don't just provide an answer. You try to tell the other children in your partnership why you think that is. You show them through pictures, through use of manipulatives, whatnot. And honestly, in the beginning of the year, there were some issues that developed quite at the beginning. And I had to massage the groups a little bit to be able to find that right fit, find the students that will then work with one another. And it took a month or two.
Yeah.
But the kids were able to understand what we were attempting to do. And even though they may not be best friends with everybody in the group, they understand what the reason is behind what we're doing. Even at 9 and 10 years old, they understand this. And they want to find a working relationship with their partnerships so that they can grow.
Okay. Speaking of growth, what were some things in the lesson, and this is going to be a two-part question for you, what were some things that you thought could have gone better? And then on the flip side of that, what was something that went just surprisingly well or that you were very proud? What was a proud moment in that lesson?
Well, the two are intertwined, honestly. I should have developed some challenge questions with them. I was not ready for the level of successes they had with something that was brand new, to be honest with you. So my shortcoming was I didn't have challenge questions ready for these young people. I really hadn't anticipated such good work from them so early. It's kind of a testament to this particular type of program and how well it works.
That's amazing. What are your final thoughts on the lesson?
I, again, was, and it's an everyday occurrence. The fact that they are so willing to share their thinking, something that, quite honestly, in other classrooms, in other years of my own professional experience, is hard to come by because every time one would open up, I mean, you're opening up to and sharing things that could bring ridicule back upon you. But this being such a non-threatening situation, I tell the kids these particular problems that we do for the first week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks. I mean, it's a fluid amount of time because some come easier, our lesson that we saw, some are more difficult, so I spend more time on those. The kids are in a non-threatening atmosphere. I tell them, we're not going to take grades on this for quite a little while until we are working with it to a level of mastery. And even at that, when we do get around to scoring a check-in, I call it, sometimes that understanding is not there. Then we go back and reteach and recheck until the point of mastery. So that threat is taken out of the equation. And these kids are ready to come in and try. And that's sometimes the whole key, is to take that threat away, that threat of scoring, that threat of a grade, that threat of a letter on a grade card, to where the math is what is really the important bit.
Okay, Matt, so here's a question for you. I know the viewers watching this are going to want to know, mathematically, statistically, how well are your kids doing? Now, I know you're saying that you see the growth, but do you have any hard numbers to back that up?
Well, in our district, we use a variety of predictive tests that will then give us an idea of where the students might be on our year's end state test. And through the course of this program, from the beginning, as I told the kids, this is something new they've never experienced before, they're scoring better and better with more and more confidence over the course of these couple of quarters on both the predictives, the quarterly assessments, all of it.
Let's take a look at Mr. Harper's Mathematicians at Work.
Today, we are going to be working on a word problem. Melina has 56 bouncy balls. Her sister took 2/8 of them. How many does the sister still have? Get to work on your partnerships.
Then we looked at the eights and we made 8 parts in there, and then we did 8 times what equals 56, and that was 7. And then we put 7 in each box and took out 2 of them because it says her sister took 2/8 of them,
Good.
the bouncy balls. And so then Kiana counted the 7.
So Kiana, tell us what you found to be the case. Just what Ella was saying. You did what?
I found that 7 times equals 56.
Good. And then you answered the question, right? You're about to. What did you decide the answer was?
6 times 7.
7 in each box. Okay. And then the question asked us, how many does the sister still have, right? So how many does the sister still have? I see it on your paper there. Your thinking is right there. Uh-huh.
6, 7.
Ella, can you work with her a little bit?
Yeah.
Because the thinking is there.
You had 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. That's, yeah, but it's 42.
I wrote this one because I always have worn glasses number 1.
Okay, so then you know the answer is 42. Yeah, so
good
Melina's sister
observation.
has 42.
Well, because 8 times 7 is 6. And then this also represents the 7th multiple. So we knew that
Seventh
would also go in there. And so we labeled, and our answer was 7.
Very good. Now, with your use of the vocabulary,
So we know that product is an answer to multiplication problem. So this problem is basically multiplying fractions.
would you help us out by doing this on the board when the time comes? So you'll be doing Melina for us, all right? Very good.
Wait, our whole group?
Yes.
And then so I split it in half, and I just split it in half again.
What's that called? Very nice.
Because I didn't know if I just did 8 boxes. I didn't know if it'd be like equivalent or not. So we did that just to make sure. We knew we were right, but we just wanted to check.
You're attending to precision, right?
Okay, so we knew that the final number was 8, so we would use the 8s of multiples. So we listed out our multiples. And then so this is the one we are looking for, and we counted. Sure. So we labeled every multiple that we had with a number. No. And then when
we
we
got
got
to 56, it was number 7.
so we were going to have to put 7 in each box.
Aubrey, while she's doing that, will you write out the equation?
Yeah. And then so to check ourselves, we did 8 times.
Now that's the answer sentence.
What?
We need the equation.
And then equals 56.
She just did it.
And then it would be 7. And it's answer to a multiplication problem. And so for this we multiplied fractions. So the answer would be the bottom. So we got 7. That's how much her sister took.
Uh-oh.
That's how much.
That's not the.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we've skipped something out of the problem. Michael, you want to go up and tell them what your thinking is?
So basically, you guys did everything right. It's just you skipped the big problem. You need to shade in the fraction. And that, so this right here, that's a 14. Take it over here. Answer that. 42.
Now, Michael, why'd you shade 2 of them in?
Because that's the fraction.
Which part of the fraction?
The 2/8.
The 2 part. What do we call it?
The numerator.
Thank you, indeed.
Today we worked on a new topic with our word problems, multiplying a whole number by a fraction. We worked with annotating and finding out the parts of the whole. Can somebody tell me where we get our information for the parts? Ethan Landis.
The fraction.
Which part of the fraction?
The denominator.
Thank you. The denominator tells us how many parts. So these types of problems, we're using everything we've worked on this year. We've already talked about the product and quotient and the difference. Subtraction answer. Very good. Nice use of the vocabulary, people. All right. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and head back to our areas. Thank you.
Let's look at this from the eyes of Mr. Harper's students.
The math partnerships helped me as to be a better mathematician.
My group helped me today to persevere and to go through the problems step by step.
Approaching new problems without it being done, it's a lot easier because of your math group helping you doing all the annotating, and then when you're done with that, you have the confidence to go up to the board.
The manipulatives helped me because it's something that you can touch, and you don't just have to say it in your mind and think about it in your mind. You can actually feel the problem, and it's up close in front of you in 3D. And the ones I like to use are the number chips and the fraction bars because they can connect and you can lay them out with each other, and it's a lot easier to work with.
Thanks again for watching this Mathematical Professional Development Series sponsored by the Making Math Matter grant in cooperation and partnership with the Blue Springs School District, Hickman Mill School District, Wellington Napoleon School District, Center School District, and KCPT. Thanks again for watching.